I'm Richard Beckwith. Today on Secrecy Watch, we talk about UAP and the Gang of Eight.
This is Secrecy Watch.
American secrecy law rests on a fragile bargain. Congress authorizes intelligence activity by statute. The executive conducts intelligence activities under that congressional authority, and congressional oversight checks the executive's power, theoretically. The Gang of Eight compresses that bridge into a very narrow span. When invoked, a waived, unacknowledged special access program limits congressional notification to 8 senior lawmakers alone. This procedure carries full statutory legitimacy and authority. Unfortunately, it also strips oversight of scale, expertise, and institutional memory. Lawmakers come and go, bound by their oaths of office, but the true gatekeepers remain. Nowhere does this compression matter more than in the domain of Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, or UAP. UAP programs, by their very nature, implicate advanced sensor systems, novel propulsion claims, foreign intelligence equities, and potential contractor custody. Each element triggers classification pressure. Together, they not only invite but beg maximum secrecy. The Gang of Eight stands at the threshold. The Gang of Eight derives from the National Security Act of 1947 as amended by the Intelligence Oversight Act of 1980. Congress required the President to keep congressional intelligence committees fully and currently informed of intelligence activities, but Congress carved out an exception. Under Section 3093(c)(2), the President may limit notification to congressional leadership and intelligence committee leadership when extraordinary circumstances affecting vital interests of the United States exist. What better place than in regard to UAP? The statute fails to define either extraordinary circumstances or vital interests. This determination remains entirely within the discretion of the executive branch. This delegation of discretion forms the legal foundation for the Gang of Eight. The 8 members of the so-called Gang of Eight consist of congressional leadership and the chairs and ranking members of the intelligence committees, the Speaker of the House Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the chair and ranking member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and the chair and vice chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. No statute requires unanimity or authorizes formal objection. The law simply requires the transmission of notice, not consent or approval. The term oversight appears loosely applied in this particular instance, perhaps even inappropriate. Gang of Eight briefings occur in highly secure settings. No transcripts circulate. Staff participation remains rare or even prohibited. Documents, if shown, often remain within executive control. Members receive information without the ability to test claims through the committee process. They cannot compel witnesses. They cannot consult technical experts. They cannot build legislative consensus. Oversight narrows to recollection alone. If the executive mischaracterizes a program, omits details, or frames legal authority aggressively, no immediate remedy exists. Courts avoid such disputes. Standing barriers persist. The state secrets doctrine intervenes. Congressional remedies depend on political leverage, yet the very secrecy of the Gang of Eight briefings prevents coalition building. This creates a tightly closed and highly controlled loop. Executive Order 13526 authorizes special access programs when vulnerabilities, sensitivities, or compartmentation exceed normal classification controls. SAPs impose additional access barriers. Waived SAPs go further. They permit withholding program details even from the intelligence committees themselves. In waived SAPs, Gang of Eight notification may serve as the sole congressional touchpoint. SAP compartmentalization fragments knowledge across agencies, commands, and contractors. Legal authority disperses. Accountability dissolves. Oversight degrades as complexity exponentially increases. UAP programs, whether investigative, analytical, or operational, share several characteristics relevant to the law of secrecy. 1. Reliance on advanced sensor systems. 2. Intersection with nuclear, aerospace, and intelligence equities. 3. Potential foreign adversary implications. And 4. Contractor-controlled data and materials. Each characteristic portends heightened classification. Together, they justify the invocation of SAP status on multiple levels. Recent congressional testimony has alleged the existence of deeply compartmented UAP programs with limited congressional awareness. While specific program details remain classified, the legal architecture permits such claims to coexist with statutory compliance. If a UAP program operates as a waived SAP, the executive may lawfully restrict notice to the Gang of Eight. Members may receive briefings without documentation. They may lack the authority to confirm custody arrangements or technical claims. Oversight becomes ephemeral. Contractor possession of classified materials adds additional layers to the problem. Private entities operate outside the Freedom of Information Act. They remain insulated from congressional subpoena absent clear jurisdictional hooks. When combined with SAP restrictions and Gang of Eight notification, contractor custody produces a near-perfect accountability vacuum. The President's recent executive order requiring the release of UAP material will have little effect on documents, materials, or processes presumably owned by private corporations. This seems incredible, but it is the tried and true method by which the U.S. assimilates foreign technology. Congress created intelligence committees to prevent recurrence of historical abuses as exposed by the Church Committee. Those reforms centralized oversight and professionalized inquiry. The Gang of Eight practice displaces that structure. 8 individuals simply cannot substitute for the committee process. They cannot replicate institutional expertise. They cannot sustain continuity across administrations. The result is that oversight collapses into blind trust. Gang of Eight review does not violate Article 1. Congress specifically authorized it, and presidents invoke it with statutory bounds. Constitutional concerns arise elsewhere. When Congress designs oversight mechanisms that defeat their own purpose, the separation of powers loses meaning. Executive secrecy expands through legislative consent. The Constitution tolerates secrecy. The Gang of Eight functions as both shield and solvent. It shields intelligence sources and methods, but dissolves institutional oversight. In the UAP context, this dissolution carries especially heightened risks. Thanks for joining me once again here on Secrecy Watch. We'll see you next time.
This is Secrecy Watch. If you'd like to know more about the mechanisms of American government secrecy, you may want to read Richard's new book, Need to Know: The History, Law, and Practice of American Secrecy. Available now on Amazon.com and Shopify. You'll find links in the description below.